You know, they say the true test of an ecosystem isn't when things are easy. It's when it's under pressure. And wow, just yesterday, November 21st, 2025, the Cardano network was seriously put to the test. So let's break down exactly what went down.
It's a question that, let's be honest, probably crosses all of our minds, right? What actually happens when the network you're building on, the one you trust, hits a major snag? Does it all just grind to a halt, or does the community pull together?
So here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to unpack the disruption itself. What technically went wrong on the Cardano mainnet? But the real story here, the part that I think truly matters, is how the entire ecosystem, from the core dev teams to every single project, rallied to handle the crisis.
All right, let's dive into the nitty-gritty of this stress test. This wasn't just a simple case of the network going dark. No, it was actually a much more complex technical issue, and fixing it needed a seriously coordinated effort.
Okay, so this timeline lays it all out perfectly. It kicked off with a software vulnerability that led to an invalid block getting produced. Now, that's a big deal because it caused the network to split into two chains for a bit, a good fork and a bad one. The immediate effect, block production slowed way down. But here's the key takeaway. The response was fast. Core teams like IOG, Intersect, and the Cardano Foundation jumped on it, coordinated, and pushed out a patch. That let all the stake pool operators quickly get back on the right chain, and things got back to normal. Of course, when something like this happens, what's the first question on everyone's mind? Are my funds safe? And projects like Tokeo Wallet were right on top of it. They were pushing out messages like this one immediately, letting everyone know that, hey, your balance might look weird for a minute, but your funds are totally safe. That kind of proactive communication is absolutely crucial. So the core infrastructure was stabilized pretty quickly. But what about all the dApps that are actually running on Cardano? See, a network disruption like this creates a huge ripple effect, and every single project had to figure out how to navigate it on their own. And yeah, the recovery wasn't the same for everyone. It really wasn't a one-size-fits-all situation. You had Indigo Protocol, for example, working with their partners to get their systems back online and synced up relatively fast. But then you had Strike Finance, who reported they were still wrestling with their back-end sync. It's just a perfect example of how a dApp's own infrastructure really determines how resilient it can be. You know, that network disruption, it was like a sudden, sharp storm. Intense, but over pretty quick. But it all happened against the backdrop of a much longer, much more grinding challenge, this relentless bear market. And that constant pressure is forcing projects to make some incredibly tough decisions. And we're seeing the real-world consequences of that pressure. Just look at Ape Nation. They had to make the difficult call to shut down their staking platform, pointing directly to the tough market conditions. They're making sure everyone can claim their tokens, of course, but it's a perfect example of the hard choices projects have to make just to stay afloat. So what's the long-term fix? How do projects build business models that can actually last? Well, one really compelling idea, championed by the team over at Nucast, is this concept of on-chain subscriptions. Just think about it. A system where projects get predictable, recurring revenue, but, and this is the key part, they only get it if they're providing continuous value to you, the user. It's a powerful idea that ties funding directly to utility. And other projects are making really smart defensive moves too. Angel Finance is protecting its treasury by holding most of its assets in stablecoins, which helps cut down on all that volatility. And Metera Protocol, wow, they gave us a masterclass in diversification. One of their assets, DED, went all the way to zero, but their overall index barely even moved. These are the kinds of strategic moves that really separate the projects that are built to last. But here's the part that gets me really excited. Despite the network scare, despite the brutal market, the building has not stopped, not even for a second. In fact, it almost feels like it's speeding up. We're seeing this incredible surge in collaboration and real tangible progress. Let's look at a few. First up, we've got this awesome team-up between PERPS and the WayUp marketplace. Their shared goal is huge, to bring the CNFT market back on Cardano. By getting their community to trade on WayUp, they're hoping to concentrate all that liquidity and really support a platform that's helping them build a stronger NFT ecosystem. Next up on the tech side, this is a seriously powerful integration between Chakra agents and Tap Tools. Basically, Chakra is plugging Tap Tools' fire hose of data directly into their system. So what does that mean for you? It means you get real-time analytics, wallet tracking, all of it right inside your agents. This is how you build a smarter ecosystem. And for a move that's just plain creative, you gotta look at Melting Moons. They're partnering with bear market bulls to jump into Bitcoin mining. They're getting these super powerful miners, having them hosted, and creating a whole new revenue stream. It's such a savvy play to diversify and build value that doesn't just depend on the day-to-day whims of the market. And all of this brings us to our final and maybe the most exciting part. Because surviving the day-to-day is one thing, but actually building what's next, pushing the boundaries, that is a whole different ballgame.
And I mean, come on, it does not get more ambitious than this. World Mobile just bought an airplane, an actual airplane. They're going to use this thing to flight test their own custom antenna tech. This isn't just code, people. They are literally building the future of global connectivity from the sky down. It's just a wild reminder of how big some of these visions really are. And that forward momentum, it is everywhere you look. You've got Infinity Rising now on Steam in the Epic Games Store. Pulse just wrapped up a massive 13 million token airdrop and is trading live. Denogo Finance is already looking ahead and building for Cardano's 2026 roadmap. Surge is testing a brand new fund this weekend, and Bodega Market is getting ready for the midnight token launch. The whole ecosystem is just absolutely buzzing. So when you put it all together, you have a network that proved it could take a punch and get right back up. And you have an ecosystem of builders who just adapt, collaborate, and refuse to stop pushing forward. It really just leaves you with one massive question. After weathering a storm like this, what on earth is Cardano's next chapter going to look like?